Hi, thanks for joining me for 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. Today is day 6 and I'm really excited for today because this is my sketch. I was thrilled to be doing a sketch again for this series, and these photos are very recent photos of my mum and dad. I took them to Anglesey, which is a little island off Wales, on the 25th of May, just to go out for, this is a belated Christmas present, and it's to the Sea Shanty Cafe, which my friend Helen Ding had mentioned towards the end of last year, and it's just gorgeous. Thank you so much, Helen, for the recommendation. We loved it. In fact, I think we're taking the kids again this weekend. It's just under 2 hours from our house, but it's a really easy drive and so scenic right along that coastal route along the top of North Wales. So really lovely drive out. And this is right on the beach, a beautiful bay on Holyhead, which is right, as I say, the top left-hand tip of North Wales, of Anglesey Island. So these are pictures that I took. The first one on the left is Mum and Dad standing outside the sea shanty before we went in for our lunch. And then afterwards, they treated themselves to ice creams and sat on the wall by the beach. So it's a picture of them. And when I showed this picture to my daughter, she said it looks like Grandpa's telling Granny off. So I do like it. It's a really funny one. So I've pulled out Spectrum Gardenia from 49er Market to document these photos. The pink in my dad's shirt just went perfectly with the pinks in that collection, and also Mum's got her blue denim jacket on and the blues went really nicely with that. So first of all, I've matted the photos onto some scrap white card, and then these are 3x4 photos, and then I've matted each of those onto one of the pattern papers you will have seen. It has pinks and purples and blues in it. So the one of my dad I matted on the pink, and then the one of Mum I used the other side and more of the blues with a little bit of pink coming in on the right hand side. So these strips that I'm using beneath are the branding strips, and I just thought that these colours work really nicely. Again, the black and white and then the pink and blue, because they're the predominant colours that they're wearing. And now I want to create that scallop border that's underneath the photos. So I pulled out this 6x8 paper, and initially I thought I was going to use this blue side, but then I saw the rainbow colours on the other side and decided that that would be a really nice side to use for the scallops under the photo. So you can see me positioning it there, and I do actually glue that down. But when I've glued it down, I just feel that the reds clash a little bit too much. It's not quite right for me. I don't know whether it's the reds or something else, but in the end, you'll see in a minute, I do end up pulling that up and use the blue side. So I just have, luckily I only used a pencil to draw my scallops, so I just have to rub that out. And you'll have seen me doing this technique before. The scallops are created by just finding something round, a small round pot or a penny or something like that, and drawing half circles next to one another and then trimming that out. And that creates a really nice, slightly wonky scalloped border, which I really enjoy. So you can see I'm just using scraps of the pink and blue branding strips because I realised that I didn't really need to use full pieces when it was going to go underneath the photos anyway. So I do use a full piece of the stripy branding strip because that will be seen underneath the photos, but the others I'm just using scraps. So getting everything glued down just to have to pull it all up again in a minute. And while I'm doing that, please do check the description box down below. I'll leave my Instagram link in the description box, and also the playlist that Christie's created for everybody who's joining in. And there are some amazing people joining in on this hop every time Christie does this series. It's fantastic. So do check out that playlist and see everybody else's videos and give them a like and subscribe if you enjoy what you see. It's so wonderful when you're creating things to see people commenting and subscribing to your videos because they want to see more. It really does give you a boost. So do check those other creators out. So just building up these layers, as I say, and in a minute you'll see I decide that those colours aren't quite right, and I do flip that over. I think it's at this point just as I'm positioning it, yeah. So just pulling that up, and it doesn't matter that it tears because it's going underneath that strip anyway, so just gluing this back down on there. And I'm much happier with that paler blue without introducing all those other colours. So that's much better for me there. So gluing the photos down so that I can start embellishing now. So just trimming down that edge. I didn't want the strip to come too far over to the right. So this is a Flair badge that I've designed for Hey Little Magpie as part of the Spectrum Gardenia collection. And then that little orange piece says Moments Filled with Joy. And I love the look of that tag there. I do love tucking under labels and tags under my photos to create different layers. This is the printables that we sell at Hey Little Magpie. You can download them or you can buy them as the pre-printed item. They're only £1.50 and they're all designed to work with the collections that we sell. So this is a 1 1/4 inch punch that works well with the circles. You've got the word circles at the bottom, which are a 1 inch punch, and then these labels can just be hand cut, as I'm doing now. So just building up some clusters with these labels. I wanted to introduce the green because you can see the green behind them in the second photo of the grass. So just adding that behind the orange. And this is the colour palette that I'm going to work with. So that black heart, in fact, is from the ephemera pieces. And then you can see I've just added a little shirt button there. This is just one that I cut off one of Ross's old shirts, and I just keep them on my desk when I want to add something a bit different to my layouts. These are the rub-ons from the collection, and I just wanted to run a pink rub-on right the way across underneath the photo to look as if those that scallop border had been stitched down. But the piece wasn't quite long enough, so I just cut another one of the smaller pieces to add on to the end. And once it's rubbed down, it looks like it's one continual piece. Now I'm using these orange rub-ons to create some mixed media underneath the scallop. Obviously this one piece isn't long enough, so I will continue adding bits from that sheet once that's been rubbed on. And these are fabulous. It's a great way if you don't want to add mixed media yourself, just add that look to a plain card or indeed to pattern paper. They do look really nice. And they're matte, they're not shiny, so they just blend right into that page. So just making sure everything's rubbed down before pulling off the backing. Isn't that beautiful? I love them. I wish I could use them on every single layout. So just working out which piece to put down next, just to extend that mixed media piece underneath that scallop. And trying to stick to the pinks, oranges, blues, the colours that I've already used above. Again, just getting that rubbed down. Making sure that it's all down. And then when I bring the photos back down, you'll see there's still not quite enough there, so just trying to find a few last bits to add on to the end. And that's the great thing about these rub-ons. You can just keep adding until you're happy with the layering, and they layer beautifully over one another if you need to. And there we go. And I love the way that just tapers off as well. So I'm just going to glue these bits down now that I've decided that I'm happy with the clusters that I've created. And I love those labels. I really think they add beautiful clusters and bases to add your embellishments to. So that Together Sentiment Flair works nicely. It's just bringing that purple in. And then I'm going to add a nest of yellow thread underneath it. So this is just yellow sewing cotton that I keep in my drawer. So now I'm going to, I think at this point I add the rub-ons. And I do need to glue the mat down because I want those rub-ons to extend right off the end of the scallop, so it really looks as if they've been stitched down. So just getting those two left-hand bits added on. Trying to find the little piece that I cut off. So this is the little extension piece that I added so that it was long enough to go right off the edge of that scallop. really struggled picking the backing up, so I was just using the pin from my glue to get that lifted up. And then here, this is where I see that I need to glue everything down so that I can get that rub-on added. So I'm using the Sticks 2 tape runner. I used to use these years ago and I absolutely love them. They're brilliant little tape runners. You get refills as well that just slot in. So I'm trying to go back to those because they are much quicker than using double-sided tape. So just checking that that's straight before I rub it down, and it goes down very quickly. Just making sure that it's all down, and these rub-ons do bend over edges and things as well without cracking, so it really does look as if it's been stitched. So adding a little epoxy Flair sticker to that circle and sticking that down just to add a different texture to that corner, and then I'm threading some peach wax thread through that shirt button, and I'm going to tie that in a bow, and it just adds something else to the layout, just draws your eye down the page with the tails that hang down from that bow. And I do like the way that looks. So just adding a big blob of glue and positioning that on top and leaving it to dry there. So now I want to turn my attention to the bottom right hand cluster that I've got in the sketch. So first of all, creating a very small border, scallop border with this little border punch that I've got, just using a scrap of paper from a previous layout. And that's bringing the orange down there, and then I want to bring in some of the pink. So just cut a very thin sliver from that paper that I'd used to mat the first photo of Mum and Dad. And then again coming in with these labels from the printables sheet. These really are so handy. And I'll build up a little cluster at the bottom here. So using the blue one, and I'm actually going to cut the edge off the label so it looks like it's hanging off the page. And I'll butt it right up to the edge of the page there. And then I'm also going to come in with a green circle, a 1 1/4 inch circle using my punch, and the black square there. So here's the green circle, and that's the EK Success punch in 1 1/4 inches. And then this black square. And I do like this cluster when it's done, but it won't be finished quite yet. I do want to add a little bit more, but that gives me the base for it. I thought I was going to take the circle off the edge, but in the end it's the square that goes up to the edge and the circle comes in to the left hand side. So just roughing up the edges of that scallop. And then I decide I want to emulate the grid that's on those rub-ons that I've put underneath the photos. So I just pull out my darkroom door grid stamp and just without a block, just use my fingers to press down a little bit of the ink underneath that cluster. I've used an archival ink because I think I am going to come in with some mixed media towards the end, so I want that option that it doesn't bleed at all. Archival ink is a permanent ink. So just starting to glue everything down now. Trying to decide which way to put these. But I like the way that looks now. So just getting all that glued down with the square behind. As I say, I've butted up against the right hand side. And now coming in with my titles, I'm using these Doodlebug Puffy stickers. These are absolutely fabulous, and I wanted to bring that yellow in as a bit of warmth underneath the photo. So I've just spelt out Sea Shanty Cafe, and then bringing in some of James's JD3DPrint mini chevrons, which work so beautifully at the bottom there. Just gluing those into place with my wet glue. And then pulling off a little bit of this laser cut lace from the laser cut elements, just to bring in a bit more of that black at the bottom and to add a little bit of something different there. These are the puffy bits and pieces that we sell at Hey Little Magpie, and I just pulled in this heart. I love the pink against the pink of my dad's shirt, so I thought that worked really nicely. And then this ring that says, "Oh my heart," and again it's bringing the pink into the left hand side of the page there. And I love circular elements. If you watch me for a while, you'll know that. Flair and circles and rings and anything like that, I absolutely adore. And then I found this word that says, "Love living life with you." And I've got a very close relationship with my mum and dad. I'm really lucky, and they live just around the corner. So I do get to spend plenty of time with them. I know how lucky I am for that. So that worked beautifully. And now just going in with some of the older bits and pieces from my collection. So these are little enamel hearts. I think we still sell these at Hey Little Magpie. It has gold, silver and black on. So adding a black heart in that circle, and I've added a gold heart to the bottom cluster. And now coming in with my trusty hole reinforcer punch from We Are Memory Keepers and just adding some black bits and pieces around. And I feel like there's something missing, and that's why I'm adding these black pieces to see if that will help. And it certainly does, but it's at this point I realise that I do want to add some mixed media. So just going to get those glued down, and then I shall go through my shimmers and work out which colour I want to use. And I know I want to bring in the green just to brighten things up a little bit. The obvious choice would be the creamies in Sage It Isn't So, which you will have seen me using plenty of times. Just adding the date first of all, again using my archival ink. So just stamp that a couple of times down there. And then add some journaling. And it just says, "Our Christmas present to Mum and Dad this year, a lunch out together once the weather improved. I chose the Sea Shanty Cafe on Anglesey. It didn't disappoint." So this is where I decide to come in with my mixed media, and this is where I make a slight mistake. I've chosen Later Gator, which I'm starting to splatter down and want to smear down a little bit. But as it dries, it really is quite a yellowy green, and not quite the green that I was looking for. It's at this point that I can see it's just not quite right. So I'm just extending some of those dots and trying to decide what to do, because I definitely wanted green. I've got a yellow title and I wanted something a little bit more green. So just splotting that about, trying to decide what to do, and then I think, right, I will add a little bit more, and then I am going to come in with my Sage It Isn't So from the Creamies collection. So here I am with that green, and I'm just blending the two together, and the end result is absolutely beautiful. I think if I'd just used the Creamies, it would have been quite flat, but having that yellow colour there as well really lifts everything up. So it did work out in the end, but this wasn't really my intention. I was trying to do a fairly clean layout without too much mixed media, but this is me. I just love the look of watercolours on a page, so, and it's very easy to add them retrospectively. So now finally coming in with some splatters, just covering up those photos to make sure that they're protected, adding a bit more water. I say finally, I'm not done, because I want to embellish a little bit more. I feel like that bottom right-hand cluster is a little bit bare. So I'm just looking through my little pot of bits and pieces to see what else I can find. And I remember I've got some JD3DPrint seagulls, and there were a lot of seagulls around the Sea Shanty Cafe. So I add some of those, and I really love the look of those. So just two at the top there, and then one at the bottom underneath the journaling. And then down at the bottom here, I am going to add a little wooden heart. And I do add a wooden arrow as well there. So just getting those seagulls stuck down. And it's these last little bits that really lift the layout in the end and create plenty for the eye to rest on. So these are little gold dots again from my stash. They're almost like a glittery dot. They don't shed any glitter, so I think they might be laser cut, but they just look really pretty dotted around the page. And now I'm coming in with the puffy hearts that we sell at Hey Little Magpie, and just choosing some colours that coordinate with the colours that I've used from the Spectrum Gardenia collection. So I pop that green one down there, but I do move that up a little bit. And just adding a few around the page, sometimes layering them up as doubles because I like the look of that. So I do that here as well with a green and a pink one. And then I move that green one up to layer with that black enamel heart. So here's that arrow that I'm adding. And I want to colour it in, so I decide that I'm going to use my Nuvo Crystal Drops in gold to colour in the arrow and also the heart. And while I've got them out, I decide that I may as well add some little dots of that around the photos. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've enjoyed this. I loved creating this sketch. I hope you like my interpretation, and I shall see you again tomorrow for day 7. Thanks again. Bye.